First of all, good morning, all of you. I'm Alka Vida, Assistant Professor from EC Department, PIT. Welcome you all to today's webinar, Key Programming Skills for an Engineer. So I would like to invite you today's guest, Mr. Ketan Solanki, who has more than 5 years experience as a teaching as an assistant professor, and currently he is working as a software engineer in Applied Material India at Bangalore. I also like to invite viewers from the different department and the different organizations. I hope this webinar will be very helpful to you all. Not taking so much time, I would like to hand over the session to Mr. Ketan Solanki, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Alka. Good morning, everyone. So it's been more than an opportunity for me to share my expertise and knowledge and whatever experience I gain. So today's agenda is key programming skill for an engineer, and I'll just sorted it to let's have a path towards a software engineer. So this is the session. What I have intended means I have aimed to the engineers who have somehow decided they have to choose the path to become a software engineer. So let me introduce myself in a brief. As already Alka said, I'm working as a software engineer in Applied Materials India, situated in Bangalore, and it's a sub branch of Applied Materials Incorporation at Santa Clara. It is basically a semiconductor manufacturing equipment industry, and there I am working on 200 products. So 200 stands for the size of the silicon wafer. So there we do a control system software management, whatever the enhancement and bugs fixing and all of this. So this is all about me, and is I have also a teaching experience of 5 years in as an assistant professor. So I think I am a person who know the both wings. Like if you are working as an assistant professor in teaching area or in industry area, so what differences are there? So collecting all the information and all the experiences till now I have. So I prepared this session. So before starting the introduction part, the one thing I would like to share is the content what I put is more focused on the students who are attending here. As a some of them are in 4th semester. It's not already passed out. So I've focused on mainly to gain the knowledge about the industry for those students. So the today we'll cover these many points. The introduction of what my aim to explain this session. Then we'll have programming skills. It's like why and when we require programming skills. Then as we are going towards the software field, so we should know what are the difference between as a software engineer and what is the difference being an hardware engineer. Then we'll have a long-term career path, that is by use means of programming skills, how we can choose a long-term career path in future. Then some of the point of views by industries that as a student we might know or we never know what the industries think about. So then we'll cover some myths about software skills. Every field have a mythology. So we'll go around that what are the myths and what we should take care as being an fresher engineer. Then we'll have some discussion on software development, how it is important in our career goals, how to set up that path. Then we'll discuss some few points about interview, as we are going to choose a software engineer as a career path. So the interview is the main entry point, what we can say the gateway towards the our desired goal. So this will be the today's topics, the timeline we will follow. So we'll start with the introduction first. So the very first question to my students, like uh, we have as a student when we were studying in the engineering college. So I also had this question. So do engineers need programming skills? And if we get the programming skills, what will happen? Means if we do not learn any programming skill, then what will happen? And if we learn some programming skill, then what will happen? For example, we have some consideration in while studying, like we have uh, computer IT, then civil mechanical. So many branches are there. So there are some opportunities they do require programming skill, and there are some which do not require any programming skill. But today's discussion is to have a brief about programming skill. As an engineer, we should know what programming skill is. Means as an engineer, we should know how to program or how to write a code for a particular application. So the answer to this question, I have put a simple and short analysis. So if we are an engineer and if we uh, grasp a programming skill, any one of the programming skill, then it will be a multivitamin added to our career growth. So how this multivitamin is added to our career growth, we'll discuss as in following slide. So how it will be helpful in our career growth. So not only for if we are in a computer IT student or information technology student, or if you are not intended to become a software engineer, then also if you know how to program, means a particular programming skill, then it will be a multivitamin, we can say added advantage to your career growth. So to begin with this motive, like we should know what the programming skill is. We before that we should know why we need programming skill. So you all know also, like nowadays, whatever we field choose, whether it is a business field, engineering and technology field, or medical science field, or any of the field, robotics. So in every field, we need automation plus intelligence in the machine. So to achieve that goal will require a soft skill, or we can say we need to design hardware in such a way that we can implement the automation as well as intelligence in our machine. Without these two parameters, so nowadays every hardware is just like a piece of metals, or you can say piece of automation and intelligence where we require to implement. So that is not bounded to any of the branch. For example, if we take a medicine, so in biomedical or the medical era, we know we have a lot of tools which are smarter enough to diagnose the problem, like MRI scan, we have CT scan, then X-ray machines. So all are 3D X-ray machine. So all are related to the more intelligence and the automotive machines. Then we think about engineering technology, then business and accounting, agriculture, networking and security, academics. So wherever we think, so very first thing come into mind is we need automation in our machine, as well as we need automation in the intelligence in the our machinery. So to achieve this kind of feasibility in our tool, we require soft skills. So to communicate more easily, or to communicate the more effectively with the hardware, so to pour this smartness to our tools, so we'll require a programming skill. So in nowadays, the what are the trending technologies are mobile and communication, then research and development, space technology, nanotechnology. Even if you consider the government sectors in military, air force, then border security force, everywhere, wherever you think. So any device or any product that are used are all are smart, as well as all are equipped with the multitasking features. So the best example what we have in our hand is a mobile. Whatever the session right now, we are in live with the Google Meet and Facebook Live. So all are the medium where we require a programming skill. So these are the overview, like why we need a programming skill, and as an engineer, we are in this era only. So we need programming skills as a part of our career growth. So it was all about the introduction of today's topic. So we'll switch over to the uh, actual concept, like why we need a programming skill and when we need a programming skill. To start with this, we have some application point of view. So to give a better idea why we require this programming skill. So the very first is we'll take an example of mobile. So we know we cannot even breathe nowadays without a mobile. So we need mobile phones to deal with our day-to-day lives, and whatever the need emerges from the mobile, that all we know. And they are becoming more smarter than the even before 10 or 20 years of mobile. So this is the one of the point application point where we require programming skills. Then we think about the medical science, medical technology, where how they are growing. So we'll take an example of MRI scan. So, for example, we have some issue with the brain, and we have a brain anatomy. We know there will be billions of neurons in our head, and for to detect where the root cause is, means what the issue with our brain, that we cannot detect by ourselves or using a human calculation. So we'll require to diagnose this root cause using some smarter mechanism. So we'll have a MRI scan machine. It will scan the billions of neurons from the uh, our brain, and it will detect. It will diagnose the root cause of our brain. Then we have an example of robots, how our robot is more applicable to our day-to-day life. So we'll not using consumer products, like robots are nowadays used in manufacturing products. So to meet the customer satisfaction will require more focused manufacturing equipments, which will deliver some more productive products, and we should maintain this strong supply chain also to meet the customer's requirement. So to meet this type of requirement will require a robotics plus automation. So using these two feature will achieve more productivity, as well as timely delivery of our product to our customer. So these are the scenario in nowadays era. We'll see how the programming is applicable to each one of them, and as an engineer, how to start with this career path, and we'll see what are the circumstances we face. So, before going to programming skills, what are the programming skills an engineer should have? We'll first figure out where the software engineer stands for. So we have some concepts like software engineer as well as hardware engineer. So they both are not exactly opposite. So we believe that both are exactly opposite. Like software engineer mostly deal with softwares only, and hardware engineer mostly deal with hardwares only. So these are not the case. So we'll see how the software engineer and the hardware engineer are the kind. So the very first point is to be a software engineer or a hardware engineer, we must require the two type of knowledge. We also have should have a knowledge of software as well as hardware. So only knowing the software knowledge and only knowing the hardware knowledge, that will not be the fruitful case for our career path. So as an software engineer or the hardware engineer, we should know the software skills and as well as the hardware skills in our career path. So what makes this work, why we need this type of software plus hardware knowledge. So let me introduce some of the working environment in industry. So how the industry work and what are the departments and what are the teams they integrate with. So the very first team, as we are in a software field, so the very first team is a software team, which mainly deals with the software department of the industry. Then we have engineering team. So this covers the entire hardware, or we can say the entire branch of mechanical, civil, electrical, or instrumentation and control. So all the a branch engineer comes under the engineering group. Then in the industry will have a research and development department, will specially focus on research as well as the development of new products or new features in the software or hardware side. If they are based on products, then R&D will be a main part of the industry. Then the next team will have a Q&A team. Basically, this will be a group of testers. So maybe a group of software tester or hardware tester, which will diagnose the hardware where the fault is, or the software tester will look at the bugs and what are the enhancement required to test the software. And we also have a networking team which will maintain the after framework of industry. So we'll have a networking also to provide a sustained network criteria. If any engineer is working on a server based application, or they require some platform to be worked on, so the network guy or the network team will take care of all of this. And then finally, we have a supply chain, or we can say a business team, which will communicate to directly to a customer or indirectly to a customer, or they will maintain our business of or the business fundamentals of industries. So these are the overview of how an industry stands for. So here the perspective to explain this concept is here as a student we have a question like what to choose as a professional expertise. So how to go further with our further with our career path, or we can say after completing a B, what to choose as a professional career. So the very from this framework, if I say, then we can choose a software as a dedicated or the core expertise, or we can say we can choose only hardware as a expertise or expertise knowledge. But we can choose a combination of software or as well as hardware also. So there are several industries which will work on this combination, like engineer who are working on software as well as hardware part. So for example, we have embedded system technology, then robotics, and digital signal processing. So all are mainly focuses on software plus hardware. And even mechatronics is one of the branch which will demonstrate this combination, like they mainly work on software plus hardware branch. But as per my experience, what I suggest to you all is you should choose a profession based on your interest, not going in any flow, or not following any rituals of our technology. You just focus on what you have interest in, what makes the things easy for you. It's the main point of view here to choose. So I'll go with some explanation on software and hardware. Means we are, and as an engineer, we have some of the beliefs like software engineer, then it will do like this only. Hardware engineer, then it should be like this only. But I have segregated some of the points, being a software engineer as well as hardware engineer. So we cannot categorize them based on their profession. Even this two thing is again not a real sense to think about. For example, if we go through the software engineer, then we'll have some concepts like program. We should have programming skills, then software design architecture skill, then we should have some programming knowledge of GUI, graphical user interface, then system level software programming, then application level, then we should have a knowledge of algorithms and mathematics. So this all are comes under the software engineer post. And if we think about a hardware engineer, a hardware guy in our in our industry, then they should learn a design tool like CAD/CAM, and some hardware architectures they should know, and what are the input-output correlation, whatever the hardware they working on. For example, if the engineer is especially working on a computer hardware side, then they should know how the peripherals are interacting with our processor of computer, how the communications are going on. So they also require to diagnosis and maintain the hardware system, then inter-system communication protocols as well as network communication protocols. Both are most important for hardware engineer. And finally comes as a if we consider that the hardware engineer is working on any product based hardware, then the throughput and yield will come. Like throughput is like as we know the concept, the throughput is the timely delivery of the products, and the yield is the timely delivery of the products that are effective to put in the markets, that are feasible to put in the markets. They are like final products. So these two things they should know. But as a combine, like a software engineer as well as hardware engineer, what they should know is how the human can interact with the machine with ease, as well as without wasting more time with the hardware. So nowadays we can see like our mobile phones and computers are far better than the that of in 90s or 80s. So that we know, we used to have a DOS operating system, so we need to put some commands, and then we can interact with that computer. But nowadays we have Windows 10, Windows Ubuntu softwares, so all are software based interactive OS that we can have as a our day-to-day life use. So if we think about this graph, the chart, so for example, if we think about the programming skill, then we cannot say this programming skill should known by the software engineer only. So whatever the points I have put here are essential to know for hardware engineer as well as software engineer. So software and hardware as an engineer together, it should have a integration of all the knowledge. Maybe a brief knowledge or expertise knowledge. So that depends on us what to choose. Means where the professional expertise we need to choose. But as a overall experience, overall knowledge, we should know all the parameters listed here. So these are the things we should know as an choosing the path towards the software engineer. So that was all about how the differentiating the software engineer and hardware engineer is. But as we more focus on the path towards the software engineer in this session, so we'll go ahead with the long-term career path with the software engineering. So to do so, we should know what are the programming skills that we should have as an engineer. So what are the programming skills that are nowadays trending that we should know, and where to start with. that two questions are to choose the long-term career path. So I have segregated that number of means from the list of programming skills. So we have this many programming skills in a top list. So for example, C programming, C++ programming, C sharp, then JavaScript, Java, then we have R programming, then PHP programming, then Swift programming and Python. So these are in the top list nowadays. The people can choose any of the language and can have expertise in that direction. So if I give a brief about each one, uh, if you have if we need to learn, then we'll see how we'll go with. But how they are in top list, the very first is the C language. The C language is known as the base of all the programming language. It's like a generic programming language. If you know the C programming language, then it's easy to learn all other programming language. So we have some more programming language in some additional features, like you can learn MATLAB, Kotlin, then Dart, then Perl, Scala, and Ruby. So among all the list, we got confused, like which one to which one to choose and from where to start. So first, I'll give the top five list of the programming languages. So the in topmost list, the first comes as a Python. We know what the Python is, but we don't know what the Python will do. So the Python is the combination of structural based programming language and object oriented programming language. So nowadays the Python is the most trending, or we can say the most effective programming language as far as the machine learning is concerned. Then we have a data science and big data communication. Then we have artificial intelligence. So nowadays the Python is trending in that era. And if we think about application development side and then web development side, then second comes the JavaScript. So JavaScript is basically it is used in to develop the interactive websites, interactive web applications. So the JavaScript is used there. Then comes the Java. So the Java is a programming language. It's a high level programming language, which are specifically used in some runtime environments. So we in Java, people used to say run, sorry, uh, develop one time and run anywhere. So in a standalone application, that the application which developed once, and we can run that specific application in multiple platforms. So for that application development purpose, the Java is more trending. Then comes the C++ and C sharp. So both are like advanced and the more advanced version of C language. And as the C is the uh, structured programming language, where the C++ and C sharp is the object oriented programming language. So all are these, what are the concept of the object oriented and the structured programming that we'll see. And in addition to that, we'll have R programming, PHP, Swift, and the several other programming languages. So the PHP is specific to the web development era, and we have a Swift to develop the iOS application as well as the Android application. And then R is some structured programming. We have some programming language like MATLAB, Kotlin, which are specific to some domain. And I'll not go through the details of those programming language, because they are some kind of dedicated programming languages. So if you are choosing that particular profession, then they will be a part of that. So MATLAB might be knowing to you all. Like MATLAB is a programming language in signal sense system, as well as digital signal processing, image processing, video processing. So in all of that way, we'll have a MATLAB programming. So for MATLAB, again, As an engineer, uh, the mechanical as well as electrical engineer students, or the industrial personals, they are also the using the official version of MATLAB. So this is all about how the framework of the programmings in our current era is there. So I used some words like structured programming language, then object-oriented programming language, then procedural programming language. So the very basic start with the structured programming language. The structured programming language, here the example is the C language is the structured one. Then the object oriented programming. So the C++ and C sharp are the object oriented programming language, and the procedural programming language. Here the procedural programming language is like we have Pascal, then Basic, all are COBOL are the procedural based programming language. So the procedure, some kind of procedure model are used to develop that that programming language. And here in this list, the topmost, or you can say the very first number, always be the Python. The Python is the combination of object-oriented programming and the procedural programming. So it is an interpreted language compared to the C. So C is a compiled-based language. So we'll see how these programming skills are. So this is the overview of how the programming languages behaves and stands for their features. And now we'll move forward with how to choose any particular programming language and from where to start. So the very first question is from where to start learning. So as we all know, we have a machine which will understand only language of zeros and one. So all the machines in this era are in the world will understand only zeros and ones. So even we deal with any of the robotics or mechatronics side, or any of the hardware which will only communicate with the zeros and one language. So to deal with that, to communicate more easily with, we have lower level of programming language that human can understand, but that will be a very easy way to interact with the machine. So we have some lower level of programming language. The basic one is the assembly level programming language. So assembly language is working principle is like fetch, decode, and execute. So it will communicate directly with the peripherals or the processor or the machine itself. If we are working on some dedicated microcontrollers, then the assembly level programming language will directly talk to the machine, and it will be somehow readable for user. Means there are some instruction sets we can use that we know which can communicate, means we can have a workout from the hardware. But the most drawback, or we can say the biggest drawback of this assembly language is as soon as we go ahead with the complexity of hardware and the software, the instruction set requirement will be higher, and whatever the code complexity is, it will be more uh, it will be more complex to understand the for the user. So the to solve this, we'll have a C programming language. It is a middle level programming language, and it is a structured language. And what other feature is C programming language is human readable, just like our English language or any Hindi language, as we can read them. So C programming is a more readable concept than the assembly language. And as we know, the base of all the programming language is C programming language. So once you know the C programming, how the C programming languages work, so it's easy to deal with any other programming language. For example, if we like to develop a code, then the source code will be compiled first and will have as object file, and then it will be linked to some standalone application as a .exe, and then this .exe will give a workout whatever we put. For example, if we have developed an application to get addition of two numbers, then this will be a output of it. So the C programming is, in short, a basic one, the very basic programming language start learning with. That will be a C programming language. So how the C programming language is the base of all the programming language is, as the C is the easiest one to learn, as well as it will be more nearer to our machine level language. So directly we can draft our C program to how means we can identify how it communicates with the machine. So the structure of the C program is just like we have a documentation section, then preprocessor directive, definition section, global declaration section. Then we'll have a main function, and under the main function we'll declare variables. Then we have some body and main function, and these are the fashion how the function is defined. So here the intention is not to give the knowledge of C language, but to demonstrate how the C is designed and how the C is formed. So if we can learn easily this C language, if we know how the C is the skeleton of C is designed, so it's very easy to learn other programming language. So whatever the section in right side, all are common to every programming language, whether you select Python, Java, JavaScript, or any programming language you select. It's almost similar. Whatever the declaration part or the whatever the body part will be a same. So that you can relate in a advanced programming. The second thing is why we should have a strong knowledge of C programming. So the very first point is the C program is the C language is it's more easy to learn, right? Compared to all other. Means if we directly jump to the Python or the JavaScript or the C sharp, then it will be like what is happening. We cannot even think of like what is happening in backend. Means how this code is written, what will do that code, whatever we write. So that will be a case. Then the C is a middle level language, so it's somewhat easy to learn in a initial way. And as it is a structured programming, so whatever the structure the C is following, it is almost similar for all other programming language. So for this purpose also we should know the C in very depth. And whatever the core applications nowadays the industries are developing, all are based on C. So it is not like the Python is a best programming language. So all has adapted the Python, and everywhere, wherever it means, wherever in industry you go, you will find Python only, Java only. That is not the case, because it's more because the C language is still most trending and the flexible programming language for software developers. And if as I said, if you choose Python and the Java as an advanced programming language, then we have some limited use of it. We cannot directly use in the development like system programming, then network programming. If we need to design the core part of the operating system, then directly we cannot use the Python and Java. So there are some limitations for advanced programming language. So that's why the strong knowledge of C is must. Then the C++ is the little or advanced version of C. So C++ is why popular language is it's object oriented, and some security purpose will some of the industries will go for C++. So for that purpose also we should have the knowledge of C, and as soon as we get the depth knowledge of C, then it's very easy like a piece of paper for to learn the other advanced programming language. So why I'm emphasizing on the C language is it's a root of all the programming language, and it's like a middle level language. It will directly linked with the machine level language. So that's why the C is the key parameter here. Now we'll move forward with the point of view of industry. So by gaining this knowledge, so we should know what are the point of views, how the industries think about. Means when we go for an interview and then directly we have a surprise, like industry is asking like this, industry is asking like this, and also we have some beliefs like uh, industry. If we would like to be in an industry, then this is the situation, this is the case. So we'll go how the things, how the industry is thinking. So the very first point is industry also focusing on the C and C++ skill. Like if we are applying as a software engineer in any industry, then they directly, for example, let start with the you are going for a requirement in Java development. So they don't ask directly the Java code, means what you know in a Java, what are the basic fundamental of Java. So directly they don't ask. So what the basic skill require means to know as a candidate is C and C++. So if you have a skillful knowledge in the C language, then it will be like if you have learned C very well, then it will be a more easy way to deal with the Java and advanced programming language. So they are means that's why they are focusing more on the C language and C++. So as I said, if you go for an interview and they don't directly ask for to write a JavaScript or Python, write a Python script for this function or for this application, so they don't ask. So we don't worry for it at that point of time. We not need not to worry like to prepare for an interview in industry. Then we directly jump into the JavaScript to write a JavaScript. We should know the JavaScript how to write it. So that will be like a misguiding point for as a fresher engineer. So then next is what the industry seek is depth understanding of preliminary concept of programming languages. So I'm not emphasizing like you should know only C language. So whatever the programming language you are applying for, or the wherever you applied, the root of the programming they are using. So you should have the brief concept of that programming language. If you are applying for C++, C sharp application, then you should have the all the preliminary concept of that programming language. There also advanced concepts are not the primary one. Like in the first couple of stage of interview, they will not ask any of the question from the advanced. Then we'll have the framework, like where the industry is focusing on. So they are mainly focusing on the C language framework. So how well you know the C language and how in depth concept you know the C language. So they focus on that parameter. And what other important point is uh, when you attend any interview, so it's not always a case like you need to write a program and then that will be okay. But sometimes they offer some real-time coding also. So they'll give some API or some coding laptop to start coding, and on the spot you need to execute them. So that is also a main point in the industry. Then as a fresher engineer, if we directly prepare a complex programming, and in assessment if we directly write that complex programming, that I know this programming and I have this skill, so as a fresher this will not work out, because as we focus on more complex programming, we'll have more errors in our code. So if we start with the basic level, for example, if we can easily print the hello world using C code, then it will be without any error. Then it will be a more good option than the candidate who are developing the complex program. So that this is the way the industries are thinking, and depending on that, they will choose. So again, here the point is not we only should know the basics and then let's go for an interview. So we require the advanced thing, advanced concept to know, to figure out the final stages of interview. So we'll see in the win-win situation how to deal with. Next, we have some myths that we should avoid to uh, go for an industrial job. So the very first is programming knowledge is useful only when we are applying for software engineer opportunities. So this is very fake myth, not in a fake side, but how we believe and how we have grown up in our engineering field while studying. So why we are not focusing on this, uh, let's say example in a mechatronics side. So as a mechatronics engineer, we mainly focus on mechanical side, means mechanical engineer. So what we have as a mechanical engineer is you should have a knowledge of tools only, whatever the hardware tools are working or the structure of what the design of the hardware tools, that you should focus. But uh, as a mechanical engineer also we should have a knowledge of software. If we are dealing with some software concept, like we are specifically working on some display topic or some VR. Nowadays the VR is the most trending in the mechatronics side. So there also will require a programming skill. So whichever the uh, opportunity you choose, so there will require a programming skill. But we should know uh, where we are applying as a engineer. Next is a programming language we have learned during the graduation will be enough to get entry to the industry. So that is not a case. So if we directly learn the whatever the concept we have already learned in the engineering till the 8th semester, so those are not enough. So if you have the courage to learn something new, then we should go for the advanced concept, whatever the real concept of the what are the we can say the current concept that are used in the industry, whatever the programming language we choose. Then another myth we are following is if you like to become a software engineer, then we should have we should take admission in the computer IT or MCA. So this is totally not, I can say totally wrong. But yeah, if you are dedicated for software only, you never want to touch any hardware, then this too will be a this option will be a good. But why we are following this myth is again will go in some other direction. Like if we would like to become a software engineer in electronics field or mechatronics field in robotics, or all the branch we have a software engineer department. So all they are dealing with is some control system parameter or some automation software they are working on. So this way we can choose the our career path. Then the another myth is the software and the IT jobs are the highest paying jobs. So again, this is we are in a again myth. So why this is myth is if we are a hardware engineer or the technologist, there are some posts. So these are the posts. They are high again, high paying jobs. As a civil engineer, if we go around, then electrical engineer. So these are like a high pay jobs also. Then again in the myth of the fresher engineer, if we start with the first semester, this is the famous one for all of the students. Like the minimum package as a fresher, we should have a 10 lakh per annum. So this is kind of a tricky myth. Why tricky myth is we always dream of the higher package salary. So always we think like 10 lakh per annum is the best one. So here why we need means why I am put this point is the people who have started with the 5,000 5,000 per month, who are now after 5 years, who are now doing a job as a 30 lakh per annum. So it's not a choice of the starting package, it's the choice of from where we are starting. Okay, so this is like a tricky myth, that's why. Then again, the same tricky myth is the multinational company is always best to start with. No, this is the wrong interpretation of multinational company. To work with the multinational company is the best opportunity to for an engineer, but to work with the startup also will start from the scratch. You have to start from the scratch. So that's why the startup companies also have some unique experience, and if you work with the multinational company, then also it's like a unique experience to have. So these are all uh, about the myths of software skills we have. So I hope now onwards we should not have. Then as we are on a path of software engineer, so there are some concepts which position to choose. So the software development is the excellent career goal one can choose. So we'll see a brief just what are the professional positions, or we can say the what are the job positions we can take as a software engineering field. So we have front end back end engineer. Front end engineer will mostly deal with the front end applications. Then back end engineer will take care of most of the algorithms and the back end process. What the back end process in software is doing. Then full stack engineer, it's like it's handling both the side, front end and both side, back end. Then we have a software engineering post in testing. They call as a QA engineer, quality and assurance engineer. Then a software integrator engineer. Software integrator is the special kind. They are not dealing with any testing mechanism, testing group or any developer group. What they do is from the developed group, whatever the code will come, they will just integrate and pass it to the tester for testing. Then we have some advanced security engineer, data scientist, 3D graphics and game designer, then multimedia developer. All are the some at some advanced level. We can choose as a career path. So these are the brief of the software positions, software development positions. We can be a part of it. So again, it's on us, or depends on our interest which one to choose. But each one of them will require the set of skills from whatever we listed in the previous slide. So whatever the position you choose, depending on that, we'll have some set of skills for that position. So to reach at that goal, means to achieve that goal, so the very first gateway we should pass is the interview. So that's why I put the last topic as a win-win situation in the interview, because whatever the point we have discussed so far, and following to that, we have recollected, means we have collected all the information and all the knowledge during our engineering, as well as whatever the training we follow, and we forgot to and means we forgot to take a key of that gate. Then what will happen? So whatever the things we achieve, means what we grasp will be with us, and it will not be directly delivered to the industry. So to deliver our expertise as part of the knowledge base, we should have that key, means how to achieve that key to enter in the industry. So that's why the next point, win-win situation in interview we have. So, just give a brief of how the interview process is going on in industries. So that this information you can have in any of the platform. You can search in Google, and you will have a plenty of list of processes. But here I have demonstrated some importance and key step in the interview. So the very first is a written exam, which comprises of aptitude plus technical, and sometimes it includes GK also and current affairs. Then coding round, it's basically called as a assessment round in industry. Then telephonic round, and we'll sometimes have one technical round or two technical round, and finally manager round and the HR round. So telephonic round depends on the situation. If we are directly applying for an industry in remote place, then they should have first telephonic round, and depending on the telephonic round of your brief knowledge and the brief idea about the concept, they will call you for the written exam. And why it comes the third here is if you are applying for any position, and for first day you have a written exam and the second day is your interview, then the telephonic is the intermediate one. And after securing the coding round, they will call and ask them a brief question, and then we'll call for the technical round. In technical round, again we have some programming techniques, whatever we see. So they mainly focus on some programming. If we are applying for the software post, then they mainly focus on the basic programming skills, how you can write a particular program, a basic program without a less error. So again, here the your point of means whatever the knowledge you have. So here it will be helpful. Like in technical round 1 and 2, they will directly see how you are perfecting your code. Whether if you write a hello world, as I said, hello world in zero error, or you are writing any complex code with so many errors. And manager round is an expert round. So there you will get expert knowledge. So the manager of the team where you will be working with, so the manager will take that round and go around the table for some expert knowledge, or some we can say the core knowledge of their team. So they expect from us like what we know other than the normal candidate. So what we know addition to that candidate. So that will be a win-win situation in manager round. So if you pass, or if you go through the manager round and there is no hold or no hurdle to pass that round, then HR will be we can say just a temporary round, or you can say it's a formality round. So if you are okay with the manager, then the HR round will be a formality, just will not be asking any hard questions. Then we have some of the points I have listed. What makes you the win-win situation for this many things? So whatever the step you follow in the interview. So the very first is for your final year project is if you are the freshly graduated from the any of the college, then final year project is the most trending to win the situation of the interview. And if you don't have any kind of final year project, even you have not prepared so well, then you can explain your major project. So I also suggest you guys, like if you are not working with final year project well enough, then prepare a major project. That's for them. You should have a detailed knowledge, so that you can explain to the interview and get the win-win situation there. Then next we have is in technical plus aptitude. We should not miss any of the concept, any of the basic concept of whatever we learn as a programming skill, or whatever the basic knowledge is. So that will be useful in the technical plus aptitude. So for example, we also have some belief, like as an engineer, we are not having any kind of requirement for aptitude or reasoning. They are all related to some banking exam and some government exam. So that is not the case. So here the aptitude is also a main part of the interview process. The second thing is think out of box. Here the main point is not a single textbook will give you all the knowledge of this kind of questions and whatever the questions they have asked in interview. So not a single book is perfect to get an answer from it. So what my suggestion is, try to Google it. And there are some special books which are specially referred by the industries. Like if we are applying for the C++ based application development, then let us C and let us C++, object oriented C++, that books are the identical to gain the more knowledge of it. And if you are in C language, we have Turbo C and the latest C book. So these are the specific book that can be used to secure the final rounds of interview. Then the second is we should prepare some template answers for interview, and some brief about our employer, so which company we are applying to. So we should know the brief about that company, from where it is origin, and what are the functionality of that industry. So this is all about how we make a win-win situation in an interview to pass the gateways, to get the key of that gate to enter in the industry. And as a conclusion, what I can say is there are plenty of information, plenty of skills we have as a piece of pizza. So what we need to do is take a one piece of that pizza and enjoy it. That's the goal of all session. So if you like to finish that pizza, then you have to choose the any one of them. So that's the idea about the session. And thank you everyone to listen to me very silently. And yeah, it's now open for a question.
Thank you so much. I think this webinar has cleared the some of the question and answer,
Okay.
like what we can choose, which area we can choose after the graduation. So I would like to say thank you so much for this wonderful webinar, and
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
I also like to thank our technical team of Parul University, who the team webinar they have possible they make it possible for us and help us to organize this wonderful webinar. Thank you all of you and have a great day. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. We can end the webinar.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Hello.